Military history is filled with brilliant commanders, but only one holds a statistical record that completely defies probability. A general who led forces in over 100 battles without losing a single one. His name was Khalid ibn Al-Walid, though he is universally remembered by a different title, Saifullah, or the Sword of Allah. Long before that title was given to him, he was a member of the Banu Makhzum tribe in Mecca. From a young age, he mastered horsemanship and military strategy, building a formidable reputation across the Arabian Peninsula. Yet the man who eventually secured the survival of the early Islamic State spent his early years using his tactical brilliance to actively fight against it. That tactical threat became a reality during the Battle of Uhud. During the clash, a crucial detachment of Muslim archers left their designated high ground to collect spoils, creating a sudden gap in their defense. Looking at this diagram of the battlefield, you can see exactly how Khalid exploited that mistake. He instantly identified the exposed flank, mobilizing his cavalry and sweeping around the rear to launch a devastating surprise attack. Despite his tactical victory at Uhud, the following years of conflict and the eventual diplomatic resolution at Hudaybiyah forced Khalid to re-examine the movement he was fighting. He saw a community that remained disciplined under pressure, and a prophet whose leadership transcended mere politics, leading him to recognize the spiritual truth. He eventually traveled to Medina to submit to Islam. When he arrived, Prophet Muhammad welcomed him, remarking that a man possessing his level of intellect could not have remained distanced from the truth forever. His tactical awareness transitioned into spiritual clarity, permanently turning the fiercest enemy of the Muslims into their greatest ally. His first test as a Muslim commander came under terrifying circumstances at the Battle of Mu'tah. A small Muslim expeditionary force found themselves trapped against a massive Byzantine army. Within hours, 3 successive Muslim commanders were killed in action. The remaining soldiers handed the banner to Khalid. Surveying the massive disparity in troop numbers, he recognized immediately that a conventional victory was out of reach. Surviving the encounter required a complete strategic extraction. We can see his solution in this troop layout. Under the cover of total darkness, he ordered a complete structural inversion of his forces. He swapped the front lines with the rear units and moved the soldiers on the left flank entirely over to the right. When dawn broke, the Byzantines looked across the field and saw unfamiliar faces, different banners, and new weapons on the front lines. The specific rearrangement created the illusion that thousands of fresh reinforcements had arrived overnight, causing the imperial army to hesitate. Taking advantage of that hesitation, Khalid ordered a controlled retreat, successfully extracting his entire army without losing another man. It was this specific act of preservation that prompted the prophet to officially name him Saifullah. True tactical genius relies heavily on calculated adaptability. Knowing when to preserve your forces is just as important as knowing when to strike. He applied that same adaptability on a massive scale at the Battle of Yarmouk. Here, the Muslim army was vastly outnumbered by an imperial Byzantine coalition, determined to crush them entirely. Look at the geography of Yarmouk. The battlefield was bordered by harsh river valleys and severe drop-offs. It was a constrained, dangerous environment that severely limited large-scale troop movements. This map illustrates how Khalid neutralized the Byzantine numbers. Instead of forming traditional, rigid battle lines, he divided his army into highly mobile, independent cavalry squadrons. These units could maneuver, strike, and pull back much faster than the heavily armored imperial troops. He systematically used these agile squadrons to divide the Byzantine ranks, physically pushing the heavy imperial forces back toward those natural ravines. The terrain itself became a weapon that broke the enemy formations. The resulting victory dismantled the Byzantine military completely and permanently secured the Levant for the expanding Islamic State. Unwavering resolve, when paired with structural innovation, has the power to systematically dismantle even the most intimidating numerical advantages. Years later, at the absolute height of his military success, the Caliph Umar issued a decree relieving Khalid of his supreme command. He accepted the demotion instantly. He picked up his weapons and continued fighting in the ranks as a regular soldier, proving his loyalty was tied entirely to the cause, never to personal glory. He eventually retired from military campaigns, spending his final days in the Syrian city of Homs. On his deathbed, he reflected on his lifelong pursuit. He famously noted that there was barely a span on his body without a scar from a sword, arrow, or spear. Yet he was passing away quietly in his bed. There is a deep theological irony in his peaceful passing. Because he had been titled the Sword of Allah, it was conceptually impossible for him to be broken by any human hand on the battlefield. Khalid's trajectory was defined by the synthesis of natural talent and unwavering sincerity. That combination elevated a tribal warrior into an enduring historical champion, a general whose battlefield tactics are still analyzed in military academies centuries later. We want to hear your thoughts down in the comments. What is the greatest lesson modern leaders can take from the life of Khalid bin Walid? The true measure of invincibility rests in the underlying purpose for which a commander draws their sword.